There is nothing to do, but everything gets done. This might seem like a contradiction of terms, but the very notion of contradiction is what we deal with in an ancient philosophy known as Taoism, which dates back to around 400 BC with the philosophers Laozi and zhuangzi. Okay, if you've never heard of this philosophy or these writers, they will challenge your current mindset and get you thinking in terms of polarity and contradictions intentionally so you can see the bigger picture of life and ultimately create harmony within your life. There needs not be anything to write about, nor anything to do. All there is to be, and the reason why is because it is the only thing we have control of. It's the only thing we are sure of, and it allows us to be sure, to have control, since we may become immersed. For instance, you may be at a theme park. You can think about all the things you need to do next, and you can plan it all out. If things don't go according to plan, you get upset, and you may end up rushing, or you try to make everything work around the plan. Nothing ever really seems to go as planned. Nature cannot be planned. It cannot be managed. However, as we are part of nature, we can manage ourselves, and we often externalize this management or think so in the future that we don't enjoy the moment of now. We don't give to ourselves. We give to desire, identity, labels, attachments, or other people and material things. Every spiritual teaching shares a common ground around these things, this sense, and it is no surprise. It helps us realize nature. The beautiful thing about nature is that it tends to always keep people present, whether by teaching people their lesson or providing natural landscapes that can mostly only be enjoyed in the present moment. Whether speaking of food forest or natural law as the only solution, it is nature. Furthermore, when it comes to nature, it is unifying around the world, and it isn't judged by humans, much as humans may judge themselves or other humans. It is a shared commonality. Yet, we miss the point that we too are part of nature, and everyone is, thus we are part of everyone. It would be easy at this point to dismiss our material things and say that they are merely a product of nature and that we should not worry about them. But the problem is that we forget the point of their existence. We get so wrapped in their existence when nature ever gave rise to their existence in the very first place. In other words, we live by the symptoms but not the roots. So do we expect to have answers? Do we expect to know of our whole world? In another sense, we merely create illusions of the natural world. We create distractions or blockades of the natural world, and these are our creations. Again, the premises of a natural world is that of origin, what allows the man-made thing to come into being. We want to know our origin, yet all we see around us is things we've created, and then we wonder why we don't know. We want to be happy, yet all the time we want to be happy, and we wonder why we're not happy. We say we want people to be left alone, and then we say we want select individuals to have authority and create laws for others backed by the threat of violence, and then we wonder why people aren't being left alone. Why do we live in contradiction? It's almost as if we don't see our own mentality, and it would be easy not to see something if you were looking somewhere else, as is with the case of ourselves not living presently. If we were listening to a song, do we listen only for the end? We listen to be present in order to truly enjoy the song. Now, if we look at movies and television and look at scary or hardship-based films, plenty, what percentage of the movie or show is actually the good ending, the solution-based part? We may say around 1 to 5% of the movie. We may even not know if it's a movie, and take the man-made creation as nature itself. Now, we can argue and say that we are immersed, but regardless, we can also say that the hardships are not taken into real life, that we know it is a film. However, if most of the film is of the nature of some sense of hardship or fear or other negative emotion, Do we not think this brings into ourselves some sense of conditioning, some sense of desensitization? Like the movie, we live in hardship and expect a good result in the end. We sit and watch with expectation. But the problem is, aside from expectation, humankind is much more active than this in the real world, as equally as much as more passive. We want to change the world, to be a part of the movie in the active sense, but at the same time we want to be in the movie in the passive sense. Never do we think of not being in the movie at all. The world is a show, especially if people partake in rituals that they are told to partake in, and then they are given specific instructions on how to do so. Controlled by others, controlled by things, by identities, and so on. But remember, the movie or show is our creation. Outside of it would be the origin. It would be nature, ever more whole and unifying. Thus, to escape the trap and become present, to be authentic and honest, we would not partake in the movie, and we would live a life that cannot quite be detailed. As life needs no writing, truth cannot be written. Thus, by accepting what has already been written into nature, we need not write. Thus, there is nothing to do but rather let go. Everything will flow where it must, because nature is everything. Boy, what a movie or a book we may create without even trying. So, if you understand the last part that I read here from an article that I wrote, I'm talking about the immersion into nature rather than the immersion into our man-made creations. In recognizing there's something much higher than our own creations, and that if we do immerse ourselves into creations, even if we do recognize it's not nature, what if we take it for granted over time? What if it still impacts our nature and how we view the natural world because we're giving it so much of our time and attention? And what if it affects us psychologically in ways we don't understand? Such as, I gave the example of how humankind might be sitting there watching the movie and expecting some sort of ending. People could be sitting there watching the world play out and seeing how life is and just expecting things to get better, expecting things to go a certain direction, but it may not. It may absolutely not go that direction, and that's why people need to be proactive, but know when to be proactive, because they also don't want to, be too proactive. And this is also just understanding the difference between action and non-action, being and non-being, yin and yang. It is understanding the contradiction of when to act, when not to act. It's Wu Wei, as said in Taoist terms. So if we understand Wu Wei, it's actually the balance between action and non-action. I know a lot of people may just call it non-action, but no, it's effortless action. Okay, so it's still action, it's just inaction, which is still a type of action. You have to understand the contradiction of terms. Really, it's just an embrace of nature, allowing things to be and seeing how truth will manifest on its own if humans just let go into the reality that is nature, rather than trying to control everything. And so Wu Wei can be seen through multiple perspectives. It can be seen in another perspective where you're really working hard on something and you're practicing time and time again, where it becomes so effortless you don't have to think about it anymore. But would it be so effortless if you're trying to do something that you're not supposed to do, something that, is really forceful, something that requires enormous amount of work and force and effort, then it's not quite effortless. If you want something to be effortless, yes, you put work into it, but you don't put too much work into it. You understand just the right amount of force to apply in every situation so to allow things to be effortless. Because otherwise you'll just be trying forever on something that you cannot approach with that force. And so if you understand what I'm saying, it's about, again, the right amount of force, the right amount of use in something. For instance, let's say you have a medicine, you have a nutrient. How much of this nutrient do I really need? How much exercise should I do? How much water should I drink? And we question this all the time, not just between what do we do and what not to do, but what do we do more of and what do we do less of? And so that's the matter of, okay, if we want to go more to nature than less of man, what does that mean? We still are man, we still create things, we inevitably create. So it's understanding when we create. That's the point I'm getting at in this article, and we can understand that there isn't anything to do because everything is already here. Everything that we've created has been based on what nature provided to us, otherwise we wouldn't be able to create it. So if you think about it like that, then the answers are all around in nature, and we just over time have been figuring out how to utilize those answers for new supposed answers, like this computer, like this camera, like this video. But are they really as essential and core to life as the roots to those products? You know, the origins, the things that keep us human. Because as we see over time, these material things, they lead to attachment, desire, they lead to a lot of people falling into a consumerist mindset, saying they need more and more, and saying that they aren't happy, they aren't fulfilled. It's even leading to negative health effects like for infertility and lack of social life. I mean, we can go down the list. That's not to say that we can't use these products responsibly, but how do we use them responsibly? Again, with the proper use, the proper amount of force, the proper amount of understanding what these things are and how our reality works with these things. So that way we can have them in our reality in the very first place. We're aligning the man-made to the natural, and therefore, is it really man-made? Is it really going to be something that denatures or brings us away from nature, or is it actually something that helps us? As in this case of this video, I'm educating you, and it's helping your own mind in this world to see everything. That you can call a natural effect, something that anyone in any age could have done, but we can do even better if we choose to do so. We're using this technology, this tool, to our advantage. It's a tool, it could be used for good or for bad. That is our choice. And so it is the intelligent use of things. Wu Wei is merely the intelligent action. It's recognizing that you can't just act out of force. You can't make somebody do something, say, I have more guns than you, I have more power than you, I can make you do whatever I want. No, it's about thinking it through. It's a soft approach. Because in order to approach something intelligently, you have to give it time, you have to be present. You can't go in guns blazing with arms. Might does not make right. Right is a moral philosophical issue that requires inquiry into the mind, into understanding reciprocity between human beings. That's not something you can achieve no matter how many arms and weapons you have. That's not what morality is. And so if you want to understand the root to what is actually causing the problem with morality in our world, it's called statism. Statism is this belief system that is contradicting our own morals. So I'm going to put some questions on the screen for you in case you haven't seen these. I share them in a lot of my videos. But also, if you want to send me an article of your own, I'll turn it into a video for you. Go to theliberator.us, that's theliberator.us. There's also a bunch of resources there and a free weekly newspaper. You can print it, do share it. We also have a bunch of other projects and events coming up, so stay tuned. Thank you very much for watching.